Okay, so right now we are live. And thank you very much, Natalie, for the time you're going to spend with us today.
Yes.
My name is Bernadette Cruz. Thanks everybody to be joining us today. Okay, Natalie here. It's from NCG, a New College Group. She's the representative of New College Group, and she's going to talk about the English school in England and Ireland. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and talk about her school.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Bernadette, for inviting me over today. It's a pleasure to be working together with Enjoy Languages. So we're very happy to be part of this live. So I'm Natalie. I represent New College Group in Latin America. I speak Portuguese. I'm Brazilian, but I understand a little Spanish. So I'm trying to get there. Hopefully soon I'll be speaking Spanish fully. So I'll try to speak very slow and then everybody can try to follow. So yes, as I said, I'm based in Brazil. I look after the whole Latin America market for NCG. So I look after our partnership, like, Enjoy Languages. We've been working together for a while now. And I'm here to answer all your questions. I'll be more than happy to tell my experience about myself. I've been with NCG for more than 2.5 years. And in the industry, more than 10 years. And I know a lot about Ireland. I can help about the UK. So let's talk about everything today.
That's very good, Natalie. Thank you so much. Okay, as you just mentioned, studying abroad, it's a very interesting experience for everybody. I mean, we learn a lot about a new language. That's the main point. But in my experience, I can tell that whenever you study abroad, you learn about other culture, obviously, but also we learn about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I think that Ireland and England are very interesting places to study English. And as you mentioned, you're from Brazil. We are Latin Americans. So I think we have a very interesting perspective on studying on Europe, especially English. So I would like to ask you, because Enjoy Languages works a lot with Canada because it's a little bit closer. Normally, that's something that people take in consideration when they are looking for a place to study in. Mm-hmm. But I consider Europe a very interesting place because of our cultural differences. And I would like to know, what would you tell us about studying in England and or Ireland?
Sure, yes. As you know, as we mentioned, we are Latin Americans, so we're looking for alternatives everywhere. We are always trying to get out of our countries and explore other countries and cultures, actually. And NCG, as mentioned, we are based in the UK, which is Manchester and Liverpool, and also we have a very nice center in Dublin, Ireland. And considering the market and how popular it is, Ireland has been a very popular market in Latin America. Okay, the main reason is because Ireland is a market where we are allowed to work and study, and so a lot of students from Latin America tend to look for destinations where they can work. And since Ireland, you are allowed to study and work with language courses, Ireland has been very popular lately. And considering Latin America, Brazil is the first country that looks for Ireland.
Okay.
Then followed by Mexico. I think Mexico is the second largest destination, like location that the students look for Ireland most. So we're very happy to know that we can mix us, because I speak Portuguese, you speak Spanish, so the students can interact in different languages and then practice English, of course. But we can see that Mexico is becoming more and more popular to Ireland every year, which is very good. And Canada, as you said, it's very popular because it's close, everybody can go, and they have the college opportunity there. But a lot of people, they don't have the English language yet, so they are looking to find an alternative before they join a college or university. So Ireland is there, and it's a very economical option as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And, well, now that you mentioned this, I think it's very important because we also work with universities for bachelor and master programs. So some schools have arrangements in order to, as you mentioned, get the level of English you need to have and get into the university or for a bachelor or for a master. Do you have this kind of programs?
You mean pathway programs?
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, in Ireland, there are no pathway programs, unfortunately. Okay. They either do English or they move straight away to college. We do have some recommendations. We advise students on how to move into a higher degree level. But if you think like pathway program, Ireland, unfortunately, they don't have a visa for that type of program. It's either English or higher education.
Okay, thank you very much for pointing this out because, as you mentioned, a lot of people look for a different option. And actually, I am not certain because I haven't been there. Sorry.
You have to go. You have to go.
We need to go. But I do consider England or UK an interesting destination to improve very much the English, right? So I'm not sure if you been to the Liverpool and Manchester campus?
Yes, I did. Yes, I have been there a few times already because as part of our training, we need to go every year. So I was there in March when the outbreak started.
Really?
So yes, I managed to get out, which was good, but or not because I wish I was there because I loved there so much. So I was in Dublin when they closed on the 13th of March when everything had to close, and then I went to the UK. So I visited both campus, Liverpool and Manchester. So then we closed 1 week later. Okay. So I mean I've been there a few times, and the colleges is great. Like in Manchester and Liverpool, we are not allowed to work because with language courses, you are just allowed to study. So like Brazilians, Mexican students are also able to enter in the country without need of any visa. Okay. So we do not need to apply for a visa before we travel to the UK or Ireland. Okay.
Exactly.
So to the UK, they do not need to apply for a visa if they're going to study for up to 24 weeks.
Exactly. And that's a very interesting point, as you mentioned. You don't need a visa to start your program. And I wanted to ask, because in Mexico, normally some students ask about pronunciation and, how,
I know.
how different it is, the English in Europe and, for instance, US, Canada. So that's something I believe to be an interesting point because if you don't have probably a pathway program, however you live in England, I do believe that would be a very interesting way to learn a different English, right? I am not sure if you were able to learn some of this.
Yeah, it's a good point actually you raised. A lot of people ask me a lot about the accent at different locations. We are so used to the American accent because of the movies, because we live pretty close, But when I lived in Ireland myself for 8 years, so I was there for a long time. So I had the opportunity to learn the way they speak. But English is similar everywhere. Like you're going to be able to understand people no matter where you go. Like if you go to America, if you go to New York or go to Texas, they're going to be speaking a different way, right? Because the accent is different. It's the same when you go to the UK. So, when you go to Europe itself, if you go to Manchester, London, Liverpool, they're going to be speaking in a different accent as well. Okay, and the same happens in Ireland. But it's not that you're not able to understand. You are well able to understand. It's just a matter of getting your ears used to the sounds and the voices. But it's not, it's like I've been asked so many times about it. And since I started noticing it more, I could see that it's not something we cannot understand. You know, probably if you go to Chile, if you go to Mexico, if you go to Bolivia, they will have different ways of speaking Spanish, but you are able to understand them, aren't you?
And actually, I think that this is a very interesting opportunity because actually, when you're looking for a job, right now, in the present, it's not as before that you used to work in one place. Actually, right now, jobs are located. I mean, you can work everywhere for an enterprise that's located somewhere else. So probably you're going to have to talk to people from different parts. So I do believe that this is a very good opportunity for you to learn different accents, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, we have to take that. It's not just about learning English, like the grammar itself. It's about how to communicate. You know, that's the thing. Like, of course, there are academic side of it where you want to join a university. Then you really need to focus on the language and the grammar itself. But when you are outside, when you're practicing your English and actually learning English, you get to understand the importance of communication. It doesn't matter how you speak or your accent, the way you sound, but it's how you communicate. So the fluency is about communication. It's not just about knowing the rules, you know, or making sure the rules, like say Spanish rules.
Part of the sentence is perfectly written.
Exactly. Like even our own language, we don't speak it well. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
We don't. So it's important. But the accent, I guarantee you, is not something that should be a concern. Of course, if you are someone that is going to let's say you already studied somewhere else, you already went to America, and then now you want to go to the UK, you're going to feel the difference. You're going to have to adjust yourself to the way they speak, but it's not that you're not going to be able to understand. So there are different accents. So Ireland is completely different accent than the UK. Okay. So in Manchester and Liverpool, they are very different accents as well. But even though they're so close, they speak differently, but you are able to understand.
That's very important. That's very important. And I wanted to ask, we work with different schools, different cities, different countries. And normally, for some reason, or because the company decided to do it that way, the different schools have like specific ages. So I wanted to ask, the campus you work in, how old are the students? How old are the students in Liverpool, Manchester, and Ireland?
Yeah, okay. So study and work, we recommend for 18 plus. Okay, so if you're 18 years old or older, you are more than happy to join us. But our campus, the minimum age is 16 years old. Okay, so if you want to go for UK schools, the minimum age is 16 for adult programs. And then if you want to, let's say, usually the three campuses are very different. So if I was a student today, I would be asking that question. So that's why it's important to raise. Because in the UK, especially Manchester, we can see that the students are a bit more mature. So let's say between 24, 30 years old. That's the average age, okay? And Liverpool, we tend to have a bit more young students, okay? Because the city is smaller, so a lot of parents are concerned because of the size of the city. So Liverpool is, I would recommend it for between 18, 25 years old. That's the average age. And in Ireland, it depends, but most of our students, especially because we are based in a different location of Dublin, we are not in the city center, we are outside the city center just by 20 minutes. We tend to have more professionals, more mature students as well. Couples are very popular to come to us because it's important to share because NCG works with different locations. We try to provide you a different experience, like in the countries where they're very popular, but different destinations. For example, Ireland. Dublin is the main destination. Everybody wants to go to Ireland, and Dublin especially. But we decided to be a little bit far away from the city center, which is like 20 minutes, which is nothing for us in Latin America. But we are by the coast, near the beach. And also we have a very nice area, very safe area, where you really get to experience the Irish community. Get a job opportunity because the location is very good for job opportunities. And also you don't have contact with too many non-native speakers. You get to meet people that are actually from Ireland.
That's a very interesting point. I normally, whenever I have a student that asks me about where to study, as you mentioned, every person needs something different because of their age, because of what they want to do after. And actually, from my point of view, I'm 43 years old. I'm a mom of two, 17 and 12 years old. So I really like thinking about what are your plans for the future. And actually, I do really prefer a smaller city or even less. I mean, obviously, the downtown is so cool to think about.
Yeah.
It's cool to think about living right in downtown and so much people and everything. But I think it's a little bit difficult if you're not used to, or if you're a little bit younger, or if it's your first experience. Exactly. Well,
I mean, this is really important because that's what I try to raise, because I really think that when you are like, I'm nearly 35. So we're like, we really tend to think about the experience itself, not just going and having fun and blah, blah, blah. So even if I think about my life, I don't go out every day, or, I don't have a very busy nightlife in my life. So I prefer to live in a safer location where I feel safe. It's a beautiful area. I like where I live. And then if I need to go out, I go to the city whenever I need. But this is what is important about NCG, Dublin especially, because we are so close to the city center, but so at the same time, we are in a location where you can find a job and have a very good place to live, with reasonable costs. That I really recommend it if you're someone that is looking for quality on top of the experience as well. This is what we offer. We offer you an experience overall, so I don't want you to think or expect that you're gonna be in the middle of the city going out every day and things like that. If you are looking for that type of experience, NCG may not be the best option for you, because in NCG we also offer a life experience in the location you're gonna be living as well.
Exactly.
So couples they love it. The couples love it so much because it's near the beach. You can have so much fun during the day. You can enjoy your daily life as well, not only nightlife,
Exactly. That's a very important point you just mentioned. I mean, that question is obviously, as you mentioned, for Latin Americans, it's very important to work.
Yeah.
It's important. So a lot of people ask me, but how easy is it for me to find a job? And actually, normally I say, you know what, it's obviously it depends a lot on your attitude, of course. But I mean, if you think about the job opportunities, everybody normally thinks that downtown has a lot of opportunities. But I normally mention, you have to consider that also there is going to be a lot of people looking for a job. So it's going to be, in the end, almost the same time. If you're thinking about time, it's almost the same, because it's like a lot of opportunities, but a lot of people trying to get an opportunity. While on the other side, you have a place where maybe there are not that many opportunities, but there's also not that many people looking for an opportunity. So, and as you mentioned,
there's a balance. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, if you think about Ireland, I'll just mention that because you're talking about job. If you think in the city center itself, there are about 40 language schools, okay? Which is like a lot of schools.
A lot of
you know. So think that every school has at least 100 students from different countries, plus European students that are there, or Europeans that are not studying. They're just there, okay? So the competition to find a job is way higher, right? So everybody thinks, okay, job is just in the downtown, just downtown, but it's not. It's not there. Ireland, because it's such a small country, in the traffic and the cars everywhere, they had to kind of move to different locations to have opportunity, like for people to go shopping, to go to the supermarket, coffee shops, and pubs. So everywhere you go, you're going to be able to find places for you to socialize, you know, and also you're going to have places where you can buy clothes, you can go to the cinema, you can have a coffee, eat food. So it's very easy to go around. So we have a lot of students that contact us at the end of their first year to extend because they moved outside the city or they found a job outside the city. This is very common because they don't think, oh, I'm going to Dublin because I'm going to find a job there in the city center. No, they find a job elsewhere because the competition is not the same. Exactly. Where we are, we just have one more school. So it's just like 2 schools in the location. So the competition is way lower. And there, of course, the number of job opportunities is smaller, but the competitivity is not as high as that.
Oh, yeah. I normally mention this because obviously the first thing to consider is the attitude, but it's important to know the numbers. And you just mentioned a very important number. So in downtown, we have 40 schools, and each of them will have at least 100 students. You just need to consider Exactly. It's very interesting. Well, I mean, I like thinking about numbers. It's easier for me to understand.
No, yeah. If you do the calculations, you're going to see that it's not just about being in the city center. There are a lot of factors. So you mentioned about the timeline in terms of getting a job. So the first advice I give to a student whenever they approach me is, let's think that you're changing your life. Okay, even if we are changing our life in our country, it's not that easy. We are changing. Let's say you move to a different city. If you're moving without a job, without a house, without everything, it's going to take a time, you know. So first, you need to focus on finding a place for you to live. Then you need to sort your visa out because you have to apply for the visa after you arrive in Ireland. Then you're going to be practicing your English as well because you don't know anywhere, you don't know anyone, you don't know where to go, even what to eat, because you don't know the name of the things, right?
Exactly.
You're not going to have tacos everywhere. You're not going to, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not Mexico anymore. So you're going to have to adapt yourself even on the way you eat. So it's a lot of change, and there is a time for it, you know, and it's okay. So if you're looking for a job and if you feel like I need to get a job, you need to prepare before you go. So start looking for jobs, register yourself in every website you need, but do some research. But if you don't do it, you need to understand that it's going to take you at least 3 months to find a job.
That's good. That's very important. Thank you very much, Natalie. That's so important to mention. That's so important to take in consideration and to be able to think about. Because, of course, we would like to say, okay, when you get there, you're going to have everything solved, but that's not a reality. Actually, as you just mentioned, is changing your life. And even if you're going to change your life in the place where you talk the same language, is not easy. So now you have to consider that you're going to have to talk in other language. So
completely different.
Exactly. 3 months seems like a very good timing. And also 3 months, I mean, it's great, because if we are looking for a program that allows you to study, it would be about 26 weeks. And also the program would allow you to stay for about 2 months more, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the visa is actually you study for 25 weeks, and then you have 8 to 10 more weeks of holidays. Depends on the time of the year you go. The total timing is going to be 8 months. Okay, so your visa start from the first day of your course. Okay, so it means that if you travel today, I don't know what today is. Today is, let's say today is the 17th or 18th. I'm not sure anymore. 18th. I'm just lost. I don't even know.
I know it.
We lost time. We have lost track of time anymore. Like, I don't know days or day of the week. I don't know anymore. So if you go today and you start to study on Monday, your visa will start from Monday. Okay, the 8 months count. So we do not recommend you to go 1 month before. We don't recommend you to go 2 weeks before, because if you arrive in the country and immigration says, why are you here now and you're studying in 1 month time, they will say, no, you have to start straight away. So we never recommend the students to go more than 2 weeks before the course starts. Okay, this is very important.
And I have a quick question, and I'm not sure if you know the answer, but it happened. I had a student before that arrived and wasn't looking for a job right away. He, as you mentioned, he was very well aware that if you were going to start a new life in a new language, he knew that he needed to have a better English. So he didn't look for the visa right away, but he took a time. And if in that case, he was already studying and then he applied for the visa. As you mentioned, maybe you can apply today and we'll receive the visa on Monday, and then they will have 8 months, or they are going to consider the time he arrived and started the course. Do you know?
Yeah, I do. The visa will count from the course start date.
Okay.
So the process is, when you arrive in Ireland, immigration at the airport, they're going to give you a stamp, okay, the permission to enter. Okay, so you are permitted to be there, and you have a time to register yourself with immigration. So you're going to arrive in Ireland, start your course, make an appointment with immigration in the city center of Dublin. Okay. Then you go to the appointment with your school documents, all the visa documents that you need, and then the visa that you applied there will start counting from the first day of your school. Okay, the first day you start studying. So that will be 8 months from that day. Doesn't matter if you, let's say you're studying for 3 months and then you go to immigration, which happens sometimes because you're allowed to wait up to 90 days if immigration allows you. So it doesn't mean that your visa will start from that day. The visa will start from the day you started your course.
Okay, seems correct. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I know it's a very normal question. Don't worry. And a lot of students, they are, maybe if I go in 3 months' time, I'm gonna get more money.
And then I'm going to be able to stay there for 12 months, but it's not the way it works. So we really need to know a little about these rules so we can plan better.
Yeah,
exactly. Now that you mentioned everything, I would like to ask, where did you learn English?
So first I went to the US. I was in the US for 7 months. So that was my first experience with English. I had no English whatsoever before. So I spent there. I was an au pair, you know, the au pair program.
Yes, of course. You were an au pair. That's so cool.
I was 19 years old when I went, and it was a great experience. Like, of course, it's so new. I remember the feeling of going abroad for the first time. So I went to the US. I got like an intermediate level of English. Then I came back to Brazil. And 1 year later, I had the opportunity to go to Ireland under a student visa. So I've been gone in and out of Ireland for many times, but in total, like for the past few years, I've lived in Ireland for about 8 years. And I've been in Brazil now for nearly 3 years since I'm back to Brazil. So we speak English. I'm okay to speak and speak everything. But of course, the fluency affects it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I tell my manager I have to go every 6 months to practice because
of course we have to go. We definitely have.
Oh, of course, I need to go now. Like I have to go for 2 months. I'm sorry, I need to go.
It's something we need to do.
Yeah. And what about you? Where did you get your English from?
Okay, I was lucky enough to study since I was 3 years old. My school had teachers from US. I used to live in Veracruz, and because of the job of my father, we had teachers from US. And okay, then I studied always in schools that were bilingual. And finally, after studying my bachelor, I decided on studying a master in Sweden. So actually, it's interesting. I found a master in English in Sweden, and that was where I believe I got actually the opportunity to use the English, because I normally had good grades, but you know how I'm sure you know how it is, like getting to a place and changing your mind.
Oh, it's so different. But it's nice to hear that. So you went to Sweden to study?
I went to Sweden to study a master, and I believe that's where I actually untie my tongue.
Yeah, that's a very good a good way of saying it, because even now, you already practiced your English so much, you know how to speak, but you know how we get stuck sometimes because you're not practicing as much. So
Exactly.
This is something, especially in the morning. Oh, when I have meetings with my managers in the morning, it's like,
no.
oh my God, I can't. It's like I'm a robot. Like,
I know. It is so funny.
Yeah, but that's what we need to tell these students. Like, don't worry. Like, even though you are fluent, you know English, you've been speaking English for many years. Mm-hmm. If you don't practice, if you don't keep practicing, it's not that you're gonna forget the language. No. It's just that the fluency gets a bit stuck. You know.
I know exactly. And I think in the present it's important. It's important because we keep on sharing all these job opportunities and also life. I think it's much more easy right now to share our life with people from everywhere. So it's a very common language, I believe. I mean, it's so easy. I live in Cancun, so
yeah. And also, I think where you're based is very important for tourism as well, right? Because there are a lot of jobs that they will require English for you to have. So It's important. So even if you're like, what I recommend is if you are going for 3 months, or if you do not need to work at all, if you don't need, you just have a short period to study, even if it's 6 months from college that you took off and you want to learn English, I would recommend you to go to the UK, okay? The reason is because the UK, the mix of nationality is so good. You practice your English so much, especially outside London, because London is a multicultural city, right? And expensive as well. So we don't want to spend pounds. So we know how hard it is to spend pounds. And in London, it's the most expensive city in the UK. So if you go to Manchester, which is the third largest city in the UK, you're going to have so much fun. Beautiful city, very close with international airport. You're gonna save up to 40% in terms of costs of living. You know, so it's like nearly half the price if you go to London. You know, what's the point? So if you compare Ireland for 6 months and Manchester for 6 months, you're gonna see that if you go to Manchester for 6 months, if you don't need to work, okay, you're gonna have a better investment and a better result as well. That's what I recommend, because you don't need to have the cost with the visa. You don't need to have that anxiety about finding a house and getting mental about everything. You're gonna be paying very cheap for an accommodation. Like NCG has about 10% of Spanish-speaking students in the UK, which is very good.
Exactly. That's something I really like to mention whenever a student asks, because obviously it's the way that our brains work. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something I mean, if you need to talk in English, you will talk in English.
Oh, you will. There's no
Exactly.
video.
If you have a lot of Latin Americans in your school, I mean, it's a human way of doing things. You're going to try to do the easiest. So,
I agree. And also another thing is that even if you go to the smallest city in the world, you're gonna find a Spanish speaking student for you to make friends with.
exactly.
No matter. So, but the
Exactly.
point is the experience itself. So, if you go to Ireland, for example, Ireland is a very popular destination for Latin America, right?
Mhm.
So, you will meet people that speak Spanish. In Dublin, about 15% of our students are Spanish speaking students. Okay, so we do have a very good mix over in Dublin, which is important because again, we are outside the city center. So a lot of European students like to go outside city center because they feel that they have a better life. They save money as well because Dublin city center is so expensive. So there are a lot of things that we need to think. Europeans, they don't like big cities, so they prefer better smaller locations for them to speak English and practice. So this is good, point one. Point two is if you need to work, I'm sure the mix where we are based in Dublin will be good. But if you don't need to work and you only have 6 months, go to the UK because it's going to be a completely different experience. Latin America is not as strong as it was before in the UK for many reasons, mainly because of the currency exchange. But Dublin is expensive. Canada is expensive. Australia is expensive. You know, everywhere is expensive. But it's not that it's a bad expensive. You know, it's a good expensive. It's a good opportunity for you to really use that time you have available with the investment that you're going to make.
Exactly.
So it's just a matter of selecting the right location.
Exactly.
But if you have a dream of going to London, nothing can change your mind. You know what I mean? It's just as I was saying, part of our job is to tell you and advise you on what is the best option for you. Like there are so many opportunities everywhere, you know, and you can go everywhere. Maybe if you, let's say Canada, for example, which is very popular destination for Mexico, for Mexican students. Toronto is the biggest city, the main city. Then they go to Vancouver. But let's say someone wants to go to Calgary, you know, and why not go to Calgary? And then we explain them the opportunities in Calgary or Quebec or Montreal, everywhere. So we want to identify what the student's looking for. Because let's say I want to go to Toronto, but I hate cold.
So it's definitely not for you.
So don't waste your money and don't do that with your experience, you know. So we are here to guide you to find the best location, the best school, the best place for you to live, because every school, they have their special thing. You know, that's a message I always say. NCG is a place where you go, where you're looking for experience outside the school, in a good city, in a nice location, with job opportunities for you, with a lot of opportunities for you to socialize. But also, we think outside the school, like I said, we think on the quality of the school, but also the quality outside the school and the type of students we want to have with us.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Okay, so we've already have you here for 38 minutes.
Thank you so much. We can be here for a longer time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But okay, right now in the live section, I have written the link contact, so people can find us everywhere in Mexico and in Colombia. So if people want to know about us, you can go to the link and reach us. Thank you very much, Natalie. It has been such a pleasure. It's so nice.
It's Again, as you know, I'm here to help you with any questions. If you have any student with whatever question about Ireland and the UK, please do not worry. Ask me whatever question you have, because we've got so many questions that we thought, is it really? Because they're like, even us. And,
I know. Right now, you just mentioned very interesting points that I've already thought about, but knowing how it works is much more easier. And knowing that you're here for us, it makes me feel very happy.
Good.
Thanks.
And now the schools will be open soon. So let's tell your students, tell them, guys, everybody, the news are going to come up soon. NCG will be reopening soon. We are more than happy to know. NCG Online has been going on since the day we closed. So we are very happy. Everything is going well. We are very happy with the platform, and so are the students. So we are just waiting for the government to let us know when we are able to reopen. The UK schools, we already know the date. You're probably going to get the news today. And and Dublin, probably by the end of next week, we are going to know for sure the dates. We are just depending on the way they're doing, because Dublin is doing different than Ireland, than the UK. The UK gave us the instructions, and the Ireland, they have phases, and so it depends on how the virus is spreading over there. So we won't know until they reach phase 3 or end of phase 3, maybe 4, to know if you're going to open or not. But anyway, I'm here, and good news are coming up soon. That's what I want you to know.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It has been a great time. Thanks for the time and everything. And we're going to keep in touch, definitely, because we need to go and practice our English with European
all the time.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. All the best. And I'll be in Cancun as soon as I can, I promise.
Of course. You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.